You've done both these Saturday things, a game, just some like what you're going to do Saturday. Which one do you prefer?
I always prefer the game if you can make it work. I just think the game, I think the players get a little bit more excited about it that way. But I understand that each spring is pretty unique numbers-wise, and depth at certain positions just aren't able to do a game. So just being able to manage it that way will be interesting to say. I don't know if he's decided or not. We've talked a little bit about both ways, but the game, I think the players always get pretty excited about choosing sides, splitting it up, a little bit more competition going, and kind of split the coaching staff up, and it kind of generates a little bit more excitement that way. But we'll see whatever direction we end up going.
When you start analyzing video from the spring, does Saturday have a little bit more importance than some of the other practices?
Yeah, I think you can take some stuff away when you put guys in a little bit different setting. You get a crowd out there, maybe the band, TV camera, Pac-12 networks out there, just to see if guys can function and operate the details of all the things that we've worked through the first 14 practices, and they can do it in that setting. And I think with some of those guys that are younger guys, or some guys that have been in backup roles that we're pushing to be starters, I think that's kind of what we want to see them, put them in that situation and see how they can react that way. But usually the scrimmage in that rep's a little bit smaller than some of the other scrimmages that we've had throughout spring.
There obviously not going to be any decisions about quarterback after spring. At least that's my hunch. But what kind of takeaways will you have from the spring at that position?
I think there'll be some things, I think, more so on what those guys need to improve on individually. Hey, these are some of the things going into the summer that we feel like you really need to work out, before we get back into next fall camp. And so I think that's something that we really want each of those quarterbacks to take away. Strengths, weaknesses, and then seeing how we kind of want to get that competition structured going into fall camp.
Obviously, this is a Jonathan decision as much as yours, but could you see going into the season playing both those guys early in the year just to get more of a feel for where they stand? Some of those early games.
I've seen that happen before. I don't know. I mean, it's just so early to tell. Like you said, with talking with Jonathan, whatever we just feel like the best situation to help us win football games. But it's too early, and I think. Some teams have had some success with that early, kind of trying to play both guys, and I ultimately think we'll end up picking a guy and hopefully rolling with him.
That's what if you're hard and fast. We need we need to get behind one guy and go with him.
I think that's usually the plan. Is like, hey, we're picking the guy, but if things aren't just going well, and you feel like you've got some other guys behind him that can move the football, and then I think you make that switch, and we'll get there when we, in August.
Will you try anything Saturday a little different, or is it just going to be completely vanilla just because there might be prying eyes?
Yeah, I think just pretty vanilla install, and let the guys go out, and I think that'd probably be the same way on both sides of the ball, always in the spring games. Keep it pretty vanilla, base install, let the guys go out and compete, make some plays.
So did you say you're still kind of going back and forth about what the exact format's going to be on Saturday, whether it's a game or of a scrimmage practice?
I think that's. I just think that's. We haven't. I don't think decided on it yet. I know that we've been talking about it as a staff, and I think it's just more so just numbers wise. Who's healthy? Who do we need to get some reps? Or maybe some veteran guys that just don't need to take as many in that setting. And I think Coach Smith and the staff are just still working through it.
I saw Zach Cardman make some plays today and throughout the spring. Do you think he could be a guy that's ready to contribute right away in this receiver group?
Yeah, Zach Cardman, man, he's really through the first part of the spring for a young guy had shown up. He really runs really well, stretches the defense. I just think for him, as he continues to get comfortable with what we're doing offensively and iron out some technique things, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be in the mix. Yeah, for sure, come fall.
What have been some of your thoughts on what you see from Riley Sharp at tight end?
Riley had a scrimmage really well on Saturday. He had an explosive play, and I've been impressed just with his kind of route running ability and ability to make plays on the ball downfield, and has been able to stretch the defense a little bit from the tight end position, which is some of the thing that we've really been looking for from that group. So I think you saw him make some plays. Jermaine Terry, Gabe. We've tight ends had a really good scrimmage last practice, and hopefully that'll continue moving through. But yeah, I think that just from a guy making that transition, he's been a pleasant surprise.
So after you've gotten to digest these spring practices, what do you think you'd want to see from DJ and Ben probably as the two veteran quarterbacks throughout the summer and into the fall?
I just think, kind of taking control of the offense, and a lot of time, the coaches aren't around as much in the summer, and as those guys go through workouts and throwing exercises and stuff, those guys kind of taking ownership of it, running with it, and then working on the areas that both of those guys I feel like need to improve on, making those improvements before we get into fall camp, and just continuing to grow as QBs.
Riley was obviously, productive as a pass rusher the past few years. So what kind of initiated that transition? Was that you? Was that him? How did that kind of come to be?
I think it was a little bit. I think on defense they felt like they had some young guys coming up, some depth at that position that they felt like they wanted to get going, and then us with the loss of Musgrave, we're looking for some speed and some things. Felt like he could do some things at tight end. He played that position in high school, so I think there's a little bit of combination of both. I just liked his attitude, kind of making the switch was awesome. He's come over and brought some energy and some experience on that side of the ball, and he's been making plays. So I look for him to be a factor for us for sure at tight end. I'm glad he made the switch.